What's up? Rob here, the Medicare minister. I hope all of you have had an awesome week. And I'm actually going to flip the script this morning. I was just telling the guys here in the office that I was getting ready for work this morning and I was listening to a leadership podcast. And what really struck me about the title of this podcast was minutes versus moments. And so the whole gist of this podcast, it was about 15 minutes long, is there was this Christian leader from Oklahoma, and he was talking about the power of creating moments, but that a lot of us leaders, especially if you're highly driven, especially if you're all in with the hustle, especially if you're trying to chase your dreams and your goals, that a lot of times we get so lost in just investing the minutes into the career, right? Or investing minutes or focusing on minutes of doing something. But he says a lot of times very driven people miss out on creating moments. And so as I was sitting there getting ready, it really just kind of stopped me in my tracks because I'm guilty of that. I'm a church planter, I'm a pastor. Obviously, we work here at the agency with the Medicare Gurus here in Tupelo. And sometimes I can get so driven and so focused and investing all these minutes into accomplishing that dream and those goals and success. And listen, time out. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, right? Dreams, as E.T., the hip hop preacher says, he says, success is never on a discount, right? You got to put the time in. You got to put the minutes in. But what this gentleman was saying, what this leader was saying is that sometimes we get so driven and so focused on that we never take time to make moments and create moments and to live in that moment. And so it really started getting me thinking. I'm 45 years old. I'll be 46 in a couple of weeks. And I have two older kids, a 21-year-old, and then I have one going off to college today. And I started thinking about it, right? And I don't live with my life with regrets or anything like that, but I started thinking about what are the moments that I created with my kids? You know, I started thinking about what are some moments that I created with my family, with my wife, my spouse. You know, what are some other moments that I can think of that I took time to really just create? Because if we're to be honest, if we think about that, all of us in this room, and by the way, I'm going to put everybody on the spot, but be thinking about a moment in your life real quickly. But think about that moment in your life where you really felt loved. Or think about that moment in your life or moments in your life where you really felt alive, right? And maybe it was with a parent, maybe it was with a spouse, maybe it was with your kids, maybe it was, you know, when you went to the movies. And I was thinking about this morning, and kind of one of those tearjerker moments for me, just really reminiscing and just kind of thinking about that and remember those moments, but also a time of convicting and self-reflecting. And am I a leader that's creating moments for people? Right? Am I a pastor that's creating moments for the congregation? And so I was thinking about one in particular moment, and if you know me at all, my favorite movie of all time is The Karate Kid. Not that Will Jaden Smith crap, right? Not that. I'm talking about Ralph Macchio, Pat Morita, Daniel-san, Mr. Miyagi. And I grew up very poor with a single mom, so we did not get to go to the movies very much. But I remember going to the movies to watch The Karate Kid. Now, I can't tell you how long the movie is. I really can't tell you what year it came out. But I think about The Karate Kid that there's one moment that has always stuck in my life. And I actually thought I could do this. But you remember the crane kick moment in The Karate Kid? You know, where it's a very climatic scene and Daniel-san versus Johnny. And then he pulls out this crane kick move. And, you know, Mr. Miyagi's over there on the sideline going, yeah, you can do it, Daniel-san. And it's just this magical moment. It's just this moment in the movie that is inspiring, that Daniel-san went from a nobody to mastering this crane kick, that Daniel-san went from a nobody to beating the main guy, the top guy at the Cobra Kai dojo. And I think about that moment, that it's kind of funny that movie came out in the mid-'80s. But I still remember the movie theater that I went to. I still remember how old I was when I went to watch it. And I still remember the moment of the crane kick. Here's the point that I'm trying to make, is that I don't remember any of the other stuff, like actually who directed the movie, where they made the movie, even none of the B actors that are in the movie. But I remember that one main moment in the movie. And so my encouragement to you today, and I want to go around the room, not everybody has to do this if you don't want to, right? But my encouragement today is are we making those type of moments for those that we love, but also those moments, right? I can turn that movie on and watch that crane kick, and there's just something about Danielson doing the crane kick that I just want to go out there and conquer the world. And it may sound silly to some of you, but to me, it was a moment that made an impact in my life. And I think about, as leaders, are we creating those type of moments, not only with our families, but also with the people that we work with? Or are we just getting wrapped up in the minutes, things that really don't inspire and that don't matter? And so here's the thing. I just want to go around real quickly, and I want you to think about a moment in your life that really made a difference in your life. And I'll give you just a few more seconds to think about that. But I want to give you something too, and I just want to be honest. I believe in being honest. About a year and a half ago, I was not in the best place mentally. If I'm to be brutally honest, I had given over to the JOB mentality. I owned my own business, and I have owned several businesses over the years, but I had a really successful business about 15 years ago, made one bad business decision, and it cost me a lot of money. And so for about 10 years, even though I was very entrepreneur and doing my own thing on the side, I had fallen into the JOB mentality, what we call the just over broken mentality, the employee mentality. And I truly believe this was a divine ordained moment that happened in my life. And I met this gentleman, and I won't mention his name because I didn't get permission to do that. But I met this gentleman who is a fellow pastor, very successful entrepreneur, owns several businesses. And I remember just sitting down with him and just kind of telling him some of my struggles, and kind of some of that fire had been missing, right? And I remember just sitting down with him. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I want to tell you the power of creating moments and moments. And so I remember sitting down with him, and I can't even tell you the restaurant we were in. But he asked me, he said, if you could go on vacation to one place right now, if you had the money to go wherever you wanted to go, where would you want to go? And I said, Disney World. Right? Because we hadn't been to Disney World in a long time. And just to be brutally honest, my wife and I, because of various things, we just had not been able to go on vacation with our family in a while. And so he just began to really speak into my life and just tell me about the power of dreaming again, and the power of living your life on purpose. And it wasn't that I wasn't doing those things, but I had just been in that season where that fire had been somewhat stifled, if you will. But I remember that day that I left there with this fresh fire in my gut. I left there that day with just this fresh fire to want to live on purpose again. And can I just tell you something? It was during that season that I also connected with the Medicare Guru. Now, Justin and I had already known each other, but I believe that this was a divine ordained moment, because there was something that man spoke in my life that unlocked something in my spirit that opened up the door for me to be here with the Medicare Gurus. Now, why do I bring that up? I bring that up because I think sometimes we get so busy with life that we forget to live in that moment, and we forget the power of what it means to create moments. It was life-changing for me. That was a year and a half ago, and it sparked something in me to just want to live on fire again, to live out my dreams. It sparked this new ambition in me, if you will. And the reason I bring that up is because maybe you need a moment like that in your life. Maybe you need to get around people that can help create that and shape that in your life. And maybe, just like me, that could be the catalyst for you to get out of that rut or whatever that season is that's holding you back. And so can we just go around the room, said, can we do the camera thing again? And I know, is this going to mess it up with the sound? Okay. And so I always start with Justin. He's my guinea pig over here. But seriously, think about a moment. Can you think about a moment in your life that was life-changing? It could be anything. It doesn't have to be business-related, but anything.
So last year in the middle of summer, I was in like the absolute worst season of my life. I lost my mom. My dad had to have a quadruple bypass surgery, and I was serving at a church. I was going to school, and I was really broke, and didn't have the money. My wife and I went on a getaway to the mountains, and there was this little mine roller coaster thing where you can like pull the brakes and control the speed. And my son, he is diagnosed mildly autistic, so he has sensory issues. But I got to get away, and then I got on that roller coaster ride with him, and I did not know how this was going to go, because a lot of times it doesn't work very well when you have sensory overload with someone who has sensory issues and autism. And we get on there, and you know those little flashy pictures on the rides that take a picture of you in the moment. Well, in that moment, I saw the picture flash, and like I thought he freaked out. But I looked, and he had the biggest smile on his face. And that moment reminded me that life is still awesome. Even though I was completely depressed and I was in the worst hole of my life, that life is still great. And so I took a moment to have a moment. But in that, I learned that life is still great. So I think seizing those moments gets us out of those ruts, or
Sure.
we get bogged down.
And the reality is many of us don't remember all the other stuff, but we remember the moments because they become memories, right? And that's the point that I'm trying to get to today, is don't get so busy with life that you're just trying to do all this hustle thing. Once again, hustle, right? Don't take my words out of context. Hustle, 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 hustle. But don't forget to stop and make those memories and make those moments. Anybody else? Stephen, do you have anything? Like a moment in your life that?
Mine was probably more you know, it was a kind of a tragic accident that
Sure.
I had, you know, where I totaled my car out. But like the next day, me and my wife had sat down and we just talked. And it was then that we decided to make a lot of changes. I quit my job soon after we moved, ended up here, but it was like that next day when we were talking, something just clicked, and we just made a lot of you know, sense to do other things.
Yeah. And so that's a great point, that sometimes those moments and those memories are not always, you know, just a bed of roses, but sometimes even in tragic moments, they can spark and be a catalyst in our life, but it's something that you'll always remember. Anyone else? Zach, do you have anything? You want a moment?
When I was in the youth group, I befriended this guy that he was a little different. I never thought that, I don't know, this is going to sound weird that I would be friends with somebody like him, but we got really close, and then he had some kind of autoimmune disease, I can't remember, but anyways, he was headed to work one day, this was about 2 years ago, and he had a seizure while he was driving and went on to oncoming traffic and got hit head on to an 18 and he died. And it was like a shock to me that I can't just go through the motions and have the job and it sustained me long term, that I had to get out of that routine of just getting paid and then, you know, living paycheck to paycheck, not really striving for anything.
Right.
Where I was at in that point in my life, and then his death kind of showed me that, you know, life's too short. We can't let it pass us by. We got to make it mean something.
Sure. And so because of that memory or that moment, that the memory that's etched in your brain, it's caused you to want to make memories of, or create moments of living on purpose, right? Because it seems like it sparked something in you because you're here now, right? And even, how long you been here at the agency?
About a year.
About a year. And so I've seen a dramatic change in Zach from the first time he walked in the doors. So man, that's awesome. Way to use the power moments. And I won't go to everybody, but I'll finish. Guru, you have something in your life, just a memory, a moment in your life?
I'm a very grand scheme guy, I guess.
Sure.
I was sitting here trying to think of, you know, one moment, and so maybe the biggest takeaway is that I should focus more on the moments.
Sure.
Because I do have a lot of, you know, I don't have a lot of granular thoughts about individual moments that I can think of. I'm sure if I sat around and thought about it for a longer time,
Sure.
I'd come up with something. But I can see how, you know, impactful a lot of that is. I know, I don't know exactly Stephen's story, but it's funny because we were talking not long ago, and we were talking about how much, you know, opportunity there is right now in what we do and what he does and what, you know, just the world. And he was talking about how he was at his house and started laughing, and his wife was like, "What are you laughing about?" And he was just like, "Just life." And so then hearing, you know, a little bit about his story and the journey and knowing what I know and kind of piecing it together, it's just funny like how, you know, your life can be, you know, headed somewhere and you're like, I don't really like where this is going, or all of a sudden you realize you don't, and then you make a couple of quick decisions and then, you know, opportunity pokes its head in, kind of like your story, you know, talking about it can just turn everything around.
Sure.
I guess if I had to like talk, I don't know if it's like one instance.
Sure.
But I've talked about before, the military was good for me in some ways, but it was very suppressing of you know, autonomy and freedom.
Sure.
And you know, one of the things that makes me happy is being able to, you know, work towards purposes that I believe in, and not having that you know, job type of mentality.
Sure.
Where you're having to do something that other people are telling you to do, even if you don't want to do that or you don't want to be there. And so, you know, being in this industry, initially I didn't know how it was going to go, but there's so much freedom in it that it's given me, you know, just that transition during that process. I did learn a lot about what motivated me, and I became much more motivated, much more, you know, happy. And,
Sure.
And it also makes me want to create, you know, a JOB for people where they're able to be autonomous within
Sure.
that and have a lot more freedom and happiness. So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if that was like a pivotal point, but there was some small periods of time in there
Sure.
that did change. You know, and seeing like the positive effects of things over time with your family and the things that they're able to do and all of that, it makes me, you know, very, very happy. So, you know, I don't know if that's the same thing, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, and kudos to you and to the agency we have here, because I love the fact that we get to create moments and memories all the time. We have a lot of fun together. It's not just coming to work. And so even over the past year, you know, a little over a year that I've been here, we've been able to create some memories, whether it was going to your house for the 4th of July or, you know, some other things. When we go out to eat, we have some very, you know, memorable times when we go out to lunch. But here's what I want to finish saying this. Don't forget to really just savor life and really enjoy life. Maybe you're a dad like me who regrets maybe at times not creating enough memories with your family. Here's the good news. You can start fresh today, right? Maybe you're a boss, an owner, and you go, you know what? I'm not doing that at my workplace. Here's the cool thing. You can start today by being and cultivating an atmosphere where memories and moments, powerful moments that shape people, you know, you can start that today or wherever you're at in life. But here's the other thing I'll leave you with as I close. Don't just wait for the right moment, right? Go out and create them. Be a moment creator, and I promise you, your life will change. Have a great day.